Sujit, a warm welcome to you on our show. It's a pleasure to have you here. And let me just straight off jump to the question about Beacon Protocol. If you could enlighten our viewers about what Beacon Protocol is and how it is mooted to change the way in which commerce and mobility will work in India.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Absolutely delighted to be here. I mean, if you look at digital commerce as a model in any sector across the world, whether it's mobility or the general retail e-commerce, food delivery, travel and stay, I think the model is built on a premise that both the buyer and the seller need to be on the same digital platform to have any interactions. Okay, and talk about interaction, I'm talking about the way the whole order lifecycle plays out between the buyer and seller in any marketplace. Now, while this has done great, phenomenally great across the world in terms of bringing digital economy, it kind of puts to question some of the essence of the designs of that model itself. One is that it requires, firstly, the incentives of not just the buyer and seller, but also of the intermediary to be aligned. The other thing is it's kind of built in the design forces each platform to operate in silos and try to grow and expand the market on their own. It's kind of become a race of platforms rather than combining the collective strength of all the platforms and expanding the market even further. So which is where we started looking at what could be the other models possible. And we didn't have to look far. In fact, we looked at the design of internet and email itself and realized that there is a possibility of unbundling, decoupling this host model and offering choice to both the buyer and seller to be on any platform, okay, oblivious of each other's platform and yet interact with each other as if they were on the same platform. Now, that's not a very radical or a new idea. That's pretty much how email works or internet works. So Beacon as a protocol is trying to do what SMTP did for emails, trying to do that for e-commerce and trying to promote an idea of an open network marketplace.
That is very helpful and quite simple. So just to sort of further break it down, there are several aspects, in fact, to a platform model or an intermediation model, right? So in an intermediation model, there is, like you said, there is always an intermediary sitting in between. And like you said, there needs to be an alignment of incentives of the intermediary and the sellers and the buyers. How do you think Beacon is coming in and changing this intermediation model?
Beacon's way of looking at bringing the whole marketplace together is not by the way of aggregation, where you probably need a central aggregator, but through interoperability. So Beacon as a protocol, of course, Beacon as a protocol is just a bunch of specifications. It's not a platform or an actor by itself. Today, instead of just few platforms trying to take the burden of bringing the market together onto the same central digital infrastructure, interoperability allows for these choices to grow. And you're unbundling the set of choices not as one central kind of a platform choice, but many platforms working at the endpoints rather than trying to work to bring all the endpoints onto one. The second aspect it kind of allows is to reduce your cost of doing business online, because as a seller, you're not worried about customer acquisition, customer retention life cycles, but instead focus only on your products, your ability to do business better than your competitor, publish your catalog of goods and services at your own command, well, and respond to any demand signals that is coming from the buyer side. If you look at it, it's actually not very different from, like I said, emails and internet, but even UPI unbundled to create a large-scale digital payment revolution, so to speak, in the last 4 or 5 years. And that's the possibility that we are trying to test with Beacon Protocol for commerce.
With respect to Beacon again and just the protocol, so I think we have had conversations about this several times, right?
Right.
So and being a lawyer, this is something which terribly excites me. And we've had this discussion about smart contracts and how right. Beacon model will also have a contract on core. So can you spend some time explaining that?
Absolutely. Now, I think if you look at Beacon, so Beacon it's a set of specifications. I already spoke about it. It's open source under Creative Commons, but it allows you to enforce a bilateral conversation between a buyer platform and a seller platform. And this conversation can carry the seller's policies and terms, and you can accept those terms before you place the order. So you both are agreeing to those terms by the way of a digitally signed confirmation order. So each transaction is becoming a smart contract, so to speak, and Beacon Protocol provides for provisions for this kind of a trust to be built between the buyer and the seller. What Beckon is trying to solve for is to create that common language between all platforms so that you don't have to do multiple one-to-one heavy integrations or multiple one-to-one commercial contracts with each other. You're basically making yourself available to do business with anybody on the network who's offering you business and agree on each transaction as a micro contractor, so to speak. So it takes away the paperwork, it takes away the engineering burden of integrating with all your partners every time with nuances on both sides. You're making it, rationalizing that with common set of specifications. But to be sure of what we are saying here, right? So Beckon 1 is a domain agnostic commerce protocol. So it's not just for any particular sector like local retail or kiranas. Today, we are seeing its adoption in mobility, local retail, the hyperlocal delivery as a network itself, and going soon you'll see some areas of tourism, travel and stay. So it's one universal protocol across domains.
Yeah. So I want to come to the open network for digital commerce. If you are in the space of e-commerce, it's arguably the most talked about topic in the last 3-4 months or so. Where are we with respect to ONDC and how is Beckon fitting into it?
So ONDC is an idea, is trying to bring this thought process of an open network as a marketplace, right? Now, so that's something that I think with the guidance of ministry, there's a collective team under the leadership of QCI coming together and trying to probably institutionalize this thinking in some formal way. The idea is to create an open network marketplace. Yes, as part of that, the enabling infrastructure has to be an open protocol, which is where the Beckon fits in. But Beckon is just one part of the whole story. There are a whole set of layers on top of it that needs to be built. And that's where I think ONDC is heading together. So the underlying base protocols is Beckon, and Beckon is open source. So they're looking at that and then building from there.
So I think probably one of the most important aspects to talk about ONDC is in fact the governance structure. This governance structure should be, something very robust. So if you could just tell us about the governance model.
If you look at how UPI, decentralized payments in India, allowing multiple, buyer and seller apps to engage with, the account store value keepers of banks and all that. UPI did that, okay, and we are seeing that similar thing happen with account aggregator. And ONDC is looking at those templates of all the work that has happened ever since we've been having Aadhaar, digital interoperable ID on cloud for a population scale. The work that has happened, I think they're all looking at that and seeing what could be the right model that we can, introduce based on the learnings from these. I think that's pretty much the thinking. So I won't be surprised if the model looks pretty similar to that.
Yeah, so I think I'm not really sure if the current templates will work very well for a model like this. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So one is the NPCI model. So if you look at it, there is a regulator and then there is a quasi-regulator. And it's a heavily regulated industry. We don't want many players to enter. Whereas if you look at the ONDC and even the Beckon protocol for that matter, you're giving the decision-making power to the edges, right?
Yes.
So I think if you give a lot of decision-making power to the edges, then it's only a question of when do we need to interfere. So I think in that sense, I think if government can actually create a framework and be hands-off, just to ensure that if something goes wrong, we'll step in and fix it, right?
Absolutely.
And create a framework. I think that'll work wonders in my opinion.
No, thank you so much for clarifying that. We are obviously, like I said, we are not just looking at taking the exact NPCI model. We said learnings from those templates and adopting it. But you're absolutely right. I think one of the conversations that's happening is ONDC limited, or if there's a body that's coming in there, will it act as a regulator? I think the answer is no. It's more of an administrator of the network. So things like how do you create a network level reputation for a seller? How do we address grievance redressal online? Okay. How do we talk about payment settlements?
Got it. So I think that's probably the areas where the ONDC Limited, like you said, could legislate upon. And in fact, I think that's going to be quite it's going to be very different from an NPCI perspective as well. I think that's where we need more consultation, more discussion, probably for each sector per se where this is going to go. You will need a different set of rules to maybe apply. Maybe the minimum rules are the same, but some of these specific things will change depending on the sector as well.
Yeah, I think my sense is the idea is to make commerce easy, and not so much about getting into this whole controller narrative of or we being a regulator of any kind, but to expand the access.
It's phenomenal. It's fantastic, the sort of platform that ONDC is building out. So one thing, how does ONDC think about data? And is there some sort of common understanding about how data will be handled, what data needs to be put out. Will it mean data transfer, data exchange?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I can talk about how protocol is enabling some of that. I think the larger idea is something similar to account aggregator as a principle of optimal ignorance. Just share what is the minimal information that is required to fulfill that transaction. So I think we need to be cognizant of those possibilities. Protocol should enable for those kind of protections as we go forward. And there's an open data policy of sharing. So you may be required to share data at some level, but that data is also, you can define at what aggregate level, what level of anonymity, how much do you really want to share and all that. And there will be rules emerging for open data as well that I think everybody will agree with and come to a consensus on. So I think those are things that will evolve as we speak, but it's kind of designed to address all of this.
It'll also be great to, now, we have the non-personal data discussion as well. If ONDC could itself put this non-personal data out, because that's also of tremendous value to the business in India, right? So
when is the demand established in a local retail? When a person made up his mind, took his vehicle, went to the store and starts walking in. Today, a seller in a physical world recognizes demand after the customer has walked into the store. Now here, we are picking up demand much early. If the milk in my refrigerator is over, fact that I'm searching for milk, that demand signal is coming onto an open network. Now that entire demand signal can be aggregated and made as open data available. And for the network participant, all that network participant has to do is just log in and listen. Where's the search coming from? What are people searching for in the morning, in the day, in Bangalore, in Coimbatore? That demand signal itself is such a powerful data stream that will come on standardized machine-readable formats. And that will unlock the value chain even more. On top of that, if you have to create a richer data sets as open data and make it available, not real time, but as an online data, insights, that will further enhance the value of what the open network can do to the economy.
Understood. One of the aspects that, comes to my mind is, look, typically when you have platforms, the liability is also spread out to, ultimately there is an end platform sort of taking the liability. Right. Do you presume that ONDC will actually take up that liability, or it's going to be the participants in the ecosystem who will take up the liability?
I think you have to solve for the liability. Have a very transparent process for resolving those liabilities. But I think it doesn't mean that it has to take ownership of liability. Therefore, it's possible, just like account aggregator, to have an online dispute resolution mechanism once there's clarity in the transaction terms that are established.
For e-commerce shopping experiences, there could be different shopping experiences for that matter, where the trust of that particular network or that particular limited network within ONDC will probably, have a bearing on, I decide where to order from.
On trust, I think we just spoke about liability as one aspect, right? The other aspect of trust is a whole matter of reputation.
Okay.
And I think when you talk about digital commerce, I think payments is solved for in India, digital payments. I think ordering and selling is largely a thing of platforms, so that's a technology part. I think the challenge is in the fulfillment side, the whole offline world of fulfillment, and that's where things get fairly broken very quickly. It is possible with an idea of an open network to kind of look at how do I strengthen the delivery distribution fulfillment ecosystem. There's a possibility that there will be ecosystem of players who can come and build that backing and not be left to a few big platforms.
Just a last question. Will there be legislation for ONDC? Is there a thought about having a legislation?
I think we're still in the second or third month of the idea, and we're trying to hit the ground running with a launch and pick up the feedback from the market as to how they're seeing it. But over a period of time, will it have exert a significant kind of a narrative for how policy making around e-commerce should be with an idea of an open network? Possibly, yes. But those are milestones that we should talk about when we get there. Yeah. But I think the journey has begun. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sujit.
My pleasure.
This was very interesting. So new thoughts, new ideas, terrific exchange. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Nikhil. This has been an absolutely great conversation. I think your line of inquiry, your questions were fantastic. And I think those will only contribute to bigger debates and constructive debates going forward. Thank you so much.